Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode here on Tough Toy Tryouts. I am Kyle and with me as always is this cute little dog here Story. And this week we're going to try a toy from a store we have not tried before. Or I should say a brand we've not tried before. Petfactors, it's on Amazon. It was about $10-12 I believe when we picked it up. It's called the Fetch and Chew, and when we open it up, you might notice it looks fairly similar to the Tuffy brand toys, those cloth toys that have the very strong edge. But this one is made of rubber in the middle, and it's actually might be solid rubber. I thought it might have been like a rubber outside with a stuffing inside, but no. This looks like it's rubber all the way through, but they do have the cloth edging part that they have, again, on those Tuffy toys. So this is kind of a nice fusion of both the Tuffy toys and like a Kong product using the rubber stuff, and she's already very interested in it. She is very adept at scissoring her way through these cloth edges, so we'll see if they last throughout the week, but the rubber seems fairly firm, so I think that part will most likely last throughout the week. The edging, not so sure. Flexes fairly well. It should be soft enough to be thrown indoors, though, you know, watch windows and picture frames and that kind of stuff. But I think for the most part it should be a chew, but I'm sure we'll be doing both because Story never really knows if it's supposed to be a fetch toy or a chew toy. She often brings her Nylabone stuff to us to throw it. It's like, what do you want me to do with this? I can't be chucking this and denting floors and walls. But yeah, so we are going to hand this on over to Story and see if it'll last throughout the week. And here it is, pretty chewed up, but in one piece, more or less. But before getting into the review, I just wanted to mention that yes, this episode has released on a Monday instead of a Saturday, and that's for two reasons. First, it allows us to test toys for a full week instead of just 5 days, and second, we wanted to try a different time slot for the show as a sort of experiment. Anywho, on with the review of the Fetch and Chew. I'd like to get the bad out of the way first, so let's talk about its construction. I originally thought the toy was solid rubber with some heavy stitching on the edges, but in fact, the toy is 2 thin layers of rubber, filled with some stuffing, and then stitched together. This makes the toy much less sturdy, and if your pup is a super aggressive chewer like Story was in her youth, they might make short work of this toy. Story actually got bored with it after about 5 days into testing, so it survived, but that's definitely not a positive thing. Another mark against the toy is the price. $14 is not cheap, especially for a toy that isn't as sturdy as it looks. There's no scent or flavoring, the rubber isn't particularly strong or hefty, and the stitching isn't any tougher than that found on a Tuffy toy. So where's the price tag coming from? It's likely just the lack of large-scale manufacturing since it's a small brand. That said, let's get on with what Petfactors got right. Story was initially enthralled with the toy. She loves sawing through stitching, so naturally that's one of the first things she did. And after a couple of hours alone with the toy, she wanted some interactive play, which meant it was time for fetch. It's not a very hefty toy like I mentioned earlier, so you can throw this indoors, and being made of rubber instead of cloth, it makes it a good fetch toy outside as well. And even though the materials and construction aren't as good as I had hoped, it's all dog safe, so at least there's that. Something that I think is particularly brilliant is the shape. While making a bone-shaped toy is nothing revolutionary, the fact that they elongated 2 of the 4 nodules allows for playing tug-of-war as well, assuming you don't mind risking a finger. The longer sides mean that I was able to grip fairly easily, which added some needed dimension to the toy. So what's the final verdict on this toy? Well, I'm not particularly impressed with how they advertise the toy on Amazon, calling it Indestructible and for aggressive chewers. They also say in the bullet points that it will last for months of playtime, which, for dogs classified as aggressive chewers, it's just not true. It's an interesting toy that fuses Kong and Tuffy, but it shouldn't combine the price as well. Slash the price to $8 and we could definitely recommend it, but at $14, I recommend you pass. And that's where we end this week's episode. Let me know if Mondays are better for you, and please give me your suggestions for toys you'd like for Story to test out next. If you enjoyed this episode, leave us a like and consider subscribing if you haven't yet. Until next time, we hope you have an amazing week, and thanks for watching.